So, whatever tight end's facing the Cardinals this week is a guaranteed start. Yeah, thought I'd get that out of the way. But we're going to take a look at tight ends. Start them and sit them for week 5. But before we get into that, what's correct, like, and it's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And be sure to subscribe. Let me know you care with a subscription. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, man, we're into week 5. Tight end, it's a tough position to really project. There's not a lot of great fantasy tight ends out there, so let's see if we could find some quality starters. We're going to start with the Seahawks versus the Rams. Will Disley, man, talking about, he is a guaranteed starter right now. I know the Rams are pretty good. They're 11th against opposing tight ends, but he's seen 5 or more catches in the last 3 games, and that's with the TD in every game at least. That's a good start. I have Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee as sits. I mean, last week they really only got really pretty decent numbers because they found themselves down like 28 points. Strange way, when you have to pass the ball, people start scoring points in fantasy. It's just how it works. I don't think it's going to be the same. I don't think they're very viable options in fantasy. Now, speaking about the Cardinals, here we are. Cardinals versus the Bengals. Tyler Eifert is a great start. He's a great start. He had a drop TD in that game against Pittsburgh. So at least you know he's getting an opportunity. And last 3 games he's had at least 5 targets. This should be a really good game for them, for Tyler Eifert. And man, Arizona, they don't have tight ends. Irrelevant. On to the next game. We're talking Buffalo versus Tennessee. And I like Dawson, Knox as a start. They're facing the 28th worst defense when it comes to guarding the tight end. And he's seen 7 targets. He's gotten 6 catches in the last 2 weeks. Now, this is all reliant on as long as Tyler Kroft is not good to go. If he is out, I think Knox is a good start. If he is in, I would sit Knox on the bench and wait to see if Knox is truly the starter there at tight end. Delanie Walker, he's really the only reliable option. He's really the only reliable target there for Mariota. Not to say the receivers aren't reliable. It's Mariota. He's not reliable, but we know he likes to go to Walker. Granted, they're facing the best defense when it comes to not letting tight ends score, but Walker, I think he will get his. He will have a decent outing. Now we talk about the Bears and the Raiders. Darren Waller, man, you already know the dude's a start. I mean, Derek Carr will ensure you that Darren Waller will have a banger of a fantasy week. Just saying. Sits, Trey Burton, Adam Shaheen. They just don't get targeted enough to be relevant, so not really much to go into there. Let's talk about the Bucks versus the Saints. I have everyone as a sit. Jared Cook, Josh Hill, they have a good matchup this week. The Bucks, they're 31st against opposing tight ends, but there's better streaming options. It's Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback as well. And then Cameron Brate and OJ Howard, man, and it's funny, they're like a poor man's Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron. Combined, they're a solid low-end tight end 1. Separated, you shouldn't start them. Just saying. Minnesota versus the Giants. Evan Engram. Even if it's a blowout here, I mean, Evan Engram will get his. He, even in that blowout against the Redskins, he saw 7 targets, 4 receptions, 54 yards. Granted, didn't get a touchdown, but he still gets his. I like Evan Engram. Kyle Rudolph, he hasn't really produced this year. And then Irv Smith Jr. I was wrong last week about Irv Smith Jr. I thought he was starting to come into his own. He was seeing more snaps, but I guess Cousins just doesn't want to go to his tight ends, and they don't pass the ball a lot anyway to begin with. So, not a good matchup this week. We got the Jets versus the Eagles. Zach Ertz, no brainer. He averages 9 targets, 6 catches per game. Even in a tough matchup, And you might not think that, but the Jets are second against opposing tight ends. Zach Ertz is a good matchup, he's good to go for this game. Dallas Goedert, he's touchdown dependent. I won't rely on that. And then Chris Herndon, interesting name. I like him a little better if Darnold is the starter. If not, I'd pick him up and just send him on the bench. But if Darnold starts, he's a start. It's his first game back. This is kind of a shot in the dark, but the Eagles are 25th against opposing tight ends. And Herndon had a 500 yards last year, 4 touchdowns. So can't ignore that. Let's talk about Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. Only start I have is Mark Andrews. He's seen no fewer than 7 targets. He seems to be the favorite target of Lamar Jackson. I know they don't pass a bunch, but when they do, they pass to Andrews. See what I did there? It was like a Dos Equis commercial. Kind of. But yeah, I like him in this matchup. He gets a lot of opportunity to score you a lot of points. Vance McDonald, even if he is good to go and healthy, I'm just so unsure with Mason Rudolph there at quarterback. Nick Vannett, if he is a start. If McDonald's still hurt, he's still not a start. Hayden Hurst, Nick Boyle. They're touchdown dependent. I don't like tight ends that are touchdown dependent. They don't see a lot of targets, therefore not a lot of opportunity. Patriots versus the Redskins. Ben Watson, sit him for now. Sit him. The Patriots, they have not needed their tight end this whole year. I'd rather put him on my bench, wait and see. As far as Vernon Davis, they're facing the best defense when it comes to guarding opposing tight ends. I don't like his odds. And I don't like his quarterbacks either. We got the Jaguars versus the Panthers. I know Greg Olsen had kind of a rough game last week, but one bad game won't really deter me from giving him another shot. They face the 17th defense when it comes to guarding opposing tight ends. I think it's worth a shot. James O'Shaughnessy, he's touchdown dependent. I know he's been scoring touchdowns, but he gets like 2 to 3 targets a game, and they're not like, he's not going to get you yards. It's just a touchdown. It's hard for me to trust. Atlanta versus Houston. Houston, they're really good against opposing tight ends, but Austin Hooper has been Ryan's favorite target this whole year. Austin Hooper is having a career just year right now. Ride the wave that is Hooper. As for Jordan Atkins and Darren Fells, they're touchdown dependent. They don't get a lot of opportunity. They kind of fall in the same category as Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle. So there's better starts. I'd rather not start those guys. I'd rather not have them on my roster. Speaking about guys I don't like having on my roster, Broncos versus the Chargers. Noah Fant and Jeff Herman, they're touchdown dependent. They don't really get enough targets, but Noah Fant is in the top 8 of tight ends as far as routes ran by tight ends. It's an interesting fact, but it hasn't really materialized into much. So he's a sit. Lance Kendricks and Virgil Green. Green might not even be a go this week, but yeah, they're not really getting much production from the tight end position anyway. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about the Packers versus the Cowboys. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. You're going to start Jimmy Graham. You know why? Because Devontae Adams probably isn't playing this week, and when we saw it's kind of like a valley, man. Jimmy Graham started out pretty good. He had beginning of the year, he had that touchdown, he had 3 receptions, and then he did nothing, dipped real hard. Had 0 points for 2 weeks. Then he popped off for a touchdown, 6 receptions, 61 yards last week. So if there's no Adams, I like him in this matchup. Dallas, they're 22nd against opposing tight ends. James Witten, he's become a reliable option in fantasy. I know the Packers are 9th against opposing tight ends, but he's seeing opportunities in the red zone. He's just seeing opportunity in general. As far as Blake Jarwin, I'm not sold yet. He has a very small ceiling where he might get you 4 or 5 points, but his floor is 0. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. it's a no-go for me this week. And the Sunday night game. Oh man, Travis Kelce. Surprise, surprise. He's the #1 target there in KC. He's a start. And I got both Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron as starts. If T.Y. Hilton is not healthy, if he's not good to go, I like both these guys. The Chiefs, they're 27th against opposing tight ends. And you know what? Jack Doyle, he's going to see way more targets than Eric Ebron, but Eric Ebron is the bigger play threat. So both these guys, honestly, if Hilton is out, they're good starts. Browns versus the 49ers, Monday Night Football. George Kittle, man, why'd you have to go on a bye week, dude? I'm glad you're back and you get to face Cleveland. They're 23rd against opposing tight ends. Welcome back. Now, I got Ricky Seals-Jones as a start this week. I know. San Fran, they're 6th against opposing tight ends. I like him if Landry is out. Only if Landry is out. Because Baker Mayfield, they have to throw to somebody. That somebody could be Seals-Jones. So, if you're streaming tight ends, it's a deep leak and you're desperate, I think he's worth that shot in the dark. That's it for the video. Hopefully I was able to help you out. Tight end's a tough position, but we'll get through it together. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.